You are the chosen generation. But whether you end up being chosen, you're meant to be chosen, but whether you actually are depends on you, whether you choose to be chosen. You're called, but you get to decide if you're chosen. Nobody but you. And you get to do as much good as you want to do and receive as much power and glory and light as you want to receive. It all has to do with your desires. So, like Charles said, we may not be mucking about too much, doing too many bad things. It's not about that we're evil and we're all, engaged in awful stuff all the time. It's like, how much good can I do? Once I get over the hump of not doing bad things, and I'm just sort of like, okay, here I've kind of got to control myself. I put myself in order. My life is, I've got things going all right. It's like, then how much good can I do in this short life that I have? How much good can I accomplish? And that becomes the goal, not staying away from the bad. It's like, that's the first step. Then the next step is like, how much good can I do? And that's really what our Heavenly Father wants us to be concerned with. How do I feel about leaving mortality? At first, I wrote this question like 4 times. Like, how do I feel about death? Or how do I feel about dying? Or how do I feel about being dead? Because a lot of people are afraid of like the act of dying, right? I don't want to feel the pain. I don't know how I'm going to die, but it might be pretty bad, pretty bad experience for a short or a long time. So I don't want to talk about like, how do you feel about the process of dying? It's like, how do I feel about being dead? But then are you dead? Like, what do we mean by dead? It's like, are we dead? What is, yeah.
So I feel like if you die of age, then you might feel like a feeling of peace, because if you're dying of age, chances are your parents have already died by then. So you're kind of thinking, well, I'll live with the people I love in heaven or whatever, and it'll be great. But at the same time, you feel sadness for those close to you that are alive, and then they might feel sad that you died. So it kind of goes both ways.
So you sure hope so, right, Levi? It's like, I hope that I've lived in such a way, if I get to live a long time, that when I die, people will be sad. It's like, let's hope that we can live like that. That'd be cool. It's like, because you'll be sad if your parents die. It means they've done something good, right? Something right. So hopefully you're the kind of guy that people are sad who's not around anymore. Yeah. Okay. Any other thoughts on this? This is going to be part of the discussion today. We're going to draw from the scriptures some answers about this. Are you scared about being dead? Are you scared about what's next, the next step? And usually what that involves is like, why would I feel scared? Well, it's because I'm going to be fully accountable for every thought, word, and deed. Yeah. It's like, oh, wow, that's scary. That's really scary. So a lot of people are afraid of leaving mortality because they enter into the next realm where they get to receive exactly the fruits of their labors. Is that a scary thing? Or is that an exciting thing? Something you're looking forward to? I can't wait to go there. So, good thoughts. Questions to ask yourselves. If you feel afraid, why? If you feel excited, why? Anybody want to share about that? Yeah.
I would assume that a lot of people are scared to a certain extent, just because we don't know the details, we don't know the general idea, and we don't know how good is good enough, like how much did we do, what we did, how bad we were, and so I think it's stressful or scary to a certain extent for a lot of people. But at the same time, it might be probably peaceful to know that you're going to be reunited with all the people that you lost before. And at some point, if you were good enough to be reunited with Heavenly Father, which is really exciting for some people, I don't know, a lot of people. And so there's kind of that awkward balance between those two thoughts.
Yeah. Okay, excellent comments. Yes, Levi.
I think a lot of it comes down to regret, because when people think of, I mean, I got one other, like, what have I accomplished and what have I not accomplished? What do I wish I did? And so I think it comes down to how you live your life, whether or not you're living each day like it's your last, and if you're putting everything you've got into your life. Because if you do, then your life is going to be totally different. Because you're going to know, I gave it my all, I did everything I was supposed to do, so I'm ready. My time, whenever it's here, I'm ready for it. And I think that makes a world of difference.
Mm-hmm. There you go. Absolutely. Because by the time you get to the point, it's like too late to go back and do anything, right? It's like, so now for you is the time to be deciding, how do I want my death to be? How do I want it to go? So it puts you immediately in a frame of mind of thinking not about me today, but thinking about me when? The me that's there tomorrow, right? Future you. So to get a handle on whether or not you're afraid of death or what you want that next phase to look like for you is absolutely having to do with you thinking about future you. Sacrificing what is necessary for present you today to get future you to have something good. That's the miracle of our conscious mind. That is like, we know about the future that's coming at us. And we know we're going to die. All of us do. So that's like the target. That's the finish line. What do we want that to look like? And that determines whether we fear death or not. Claire.
When Emily got in her accident and died at 20, that was a really big wake-up call for me, because we don't know when we're going to die. We have no idea. It could literally be when I drive home today from here. And so you always need to be in the state of mind and in the repentance, and your heart needs to be in the right place all of the time, because we do not know when that will happen. And if we want to be not regretting what we did or didn't do, or we want to be excited and not afraid of what is going to happen after we die, and we always need to be in the constant state of repentance and being ready to meet our Heavenly Father, Jesus Christ, without any regrets, and being completely willing to show our life in front of Him, and say we did our best, and what more can anyone do? And so I think it's really, really important that we're always catching ourselves in our mistakes, and always repenting, and always reading the scriptures, and doing all of the good things, because we do not know that will happen, and it could sneak up on us, and it probably will.
It will. It's like a thief in the night. You don't expect it. How many know people here who've passed away by raise of hands? You know somebody who's died. Okay. How many of you know somebody who's died who it was completely unexpected? Like, we expect older people to pass away, right? It's like, you know, that's coming. They're getting closer. We might live to, 70, 80, if we're lucky, or unlucky, longer than that, depending on how well we're doing. How many know somebody who's died, we'll say, like in the first half of what you would expect of a life expectancy? Okay, how many of you know somebody who's died when they were like under 20, a fourth of a life expectancy? Okay, so that experience kind of makes you think, right? Kind of makes you think. When I was 8, I saw one of my 2 best friends get hit by a car and killed, like right in front of my eyes. I was this far from it. Wow, that really did something to me. I think that has had a massive impact on my life. It's so profound, I probably can't even explain it, but I think I understand it to be, wow, I'm still here, and he's not. What does that mean? What does that mean for my life? Why was it not me that got hit by that car? Because it could easily have been. And then when I was 14, I got cancer. Okay, that's scary. Could have died. A year of chemo and lost all my hair. And it's like, it was a really rough, 8th and 9th grade year. And I made friends who had cancer, who died my age, a little bit older. And they didn't make it, and I did. Experience number 2, very close-up experience with, I could have been dead, but I'm not. Then I had 2 experiences on my mission where I thought that I probably should have died, and I didn't. So I think being faced with the reality, close-up of death, really makes us think about life, doesn't it? It really makes us consider, what am I doing here? What am I doing? What do I want? Where am I headed? It's a powerful thing to think about. Joseph Smith said, I'm paraphrasing, something about, if there's any subject that we should dedicate our studies to, it is the study of death, of what's coming next. If we're concerned about something, we should be concerned about dying, because that puts us right in the frame of mind that we should be in. I want it to be good for future me, so I got to think about present me and what present me is doing to help future me. Any other comments? Okay. Yet they did not fear death. We're talking about Heleman's army of 2,060 stripling warriors today. So I need to have, let's see, we're going to tell the story kind of quickly. So we're in a war, okay? Lamanites and Nephites. What's happened is the kingmen rose up. And they wanted to overthrow the government and establish a king over the land, down with the reign of judges. How does Moroni feel about this? Huh?
Not so good.
Not so good. What was his emotion?
Anger.
Anger. He was mad at those guys. So he went and he made a point to put an end to those kingmen and their thought of overthrowing freedom. So while he was doing that, and while there was this insurrection around the borders of the land, because the army wasn't sufficiently strong out on the outskirts, the Lamanites came again and started occupying cities. And they got a number of cities on the outside borders of the Nephite kingdom. Big bummer for them, because they had fortified these cities, which means now their own hard work of protecting cities now keeps them out of their own cities. That's a tough, that would make me mad, I think. So then Antipas is one of the generals. He's got an army. He's out there trying to fight and to keep cities from falling into the hands of the Lamanites. And they're very discouraged. They're very downtrodden, and they feel like they're getting beat up pretty badly. And so over in another section, we've got the people of Ammon, who are converted Lamanites, who are living righteously, who made a covenant to what? What did the people of Ammon make a covenant about, besides, the covenant of baptism? They went a step further. Anybody know? Yeah.
They were never going to fight.
Okay, never going to fight again. Never pick up their swords again to kill anybody. Ever. No matter what. That was the promise made. Why did they make that promise? Huh? Okay. So that had been their method of sin. It's like they were murderers. And they were afraid that if they did that even one more time, they would lose their opportunity at salvation, because they knew better now. So they're at war, and Heleman, this group of Ammonites, they have made a promise not to fight, but they're about ready to go to war. They're about ready to join the army because they know the army needs help, and they feel helpless. They're like, we're a bunch of us here, and we are just being defended by the Nephites, and it's like we're sitting down. It's like, okay, go fight for us. We made a promise not to fight, so y'all go fight for us and protect us because we have made covenants. So good luck. It's like, that's what they felt like. This isn't fair. It's not fair for them to be fighting on our behalf when we can't fight. They were about to fight. They're like, this isn't right. we have to join the army. And Heleman was like, no, you can't do that. So then they had this bright idea. What was their bright idea? Send who? Send the kids to fight. Send our boys to war. Had they ever fought before? They had not ever even been taught how to fight because their parents made a covenant never to do it. So why would they? So Antipas is over here struggling to defend the city of Judea. Helaman shows up with 2,000, and later there were 60 more, so 2,060 eventually. Shows up with an army of 2,000, just in the nick of time. And so Helaman and Antipas get together and they have this council. And Antipas is like, I got a really good idea. Let's try to decoy the Lamanites out of the city. And let's do it like this. You're going to take your 2,000 and you're going to march by the city. Like you're taking provisions to another part of the land. And that's going to make the Lamanites be like, oh, we can go get those provisions and we can attack this army because they're small. It's only 2,000 people. It's like a small town. So they're marching, and sure enough, the Lamanites come out of the city and start chasing them. Well, Antipas had hidden himself behind the bushes, and so he was going to jump out behind the Lamanite army so they get surrounded. You know this story? Some know this story, some do not know this story, I think. So that's why I'm telling it. So now they've got the army Antipas behind and Helaman in front, and they're chasing, right? They're just going in a straight line. So, you know, the stricken warriors are like, this is working. Look, they're chasing us, so we're running. So they run all day, and then they camp for the night. And then they wake up the next morning and they start running again. And it's just chasing each other down, you know, in the wilderness, in the forest. And then they camp again for the night. Isn't that weird? It's like, if they're sleeping, why don't you get away from them while they're sleeping? But they all somehow agree, like, we don't fight at night. We all get our good night's sleep, and then we wake up and we fight tomorrow. I think this is funny. So then the third day, they wake up and they're going to start their, you know, their little cat and mouse chase again. And then suddenly, Helaman realizes they're not being followed. They're not being followed. They don't know why. Let's read the scripture. Helaman 56, 43 to 46. What happens then? Helaman 56, 43 to 46. And let's have Ethan read those verses. 43, 44, 45. Oh, let's start with 43, 44, and then we'll do 45 and 46. Helaman 56, 43. I'm sorry, am I saying Helaman? Yeah. Alma. Helaman is the guy. He's the character. It's not the book. Alma. Sorry about that. Go ahead, Ethan. 43 and 44.
And now whether they were forsaken by Antipas, we knew not. But I said unto my men, behold, we know not that they have halted for the purpose that we should come against them, that they might catch us in their snare. Therefore, what say ye, my son? Will ye go against them to die?
Okay, this is the question. And it's the question that we're being asked to. Will ye go against them to battle? Will you engage in something scary, something potentially risky for a good cause? What price are you willing to pay? Keep reading. Ethan, go ahead.
And now I say unto you, my beloved brother Heleman, that never had been so great courage, may not know swelling with heart. For as I had ever called them my son, for they were all of them very young. Even so they said unto me, Father, we will our daughters with us. We will not suffer that we should fall. Then let us go forth. We will not slay our brethren if they would let us alone.
station overpowering the army again.
Wow. So what does stripling mean?
No.
Yeah, youthful, basically. So we can assume that these group of guys are like teenagers, right? They hadn't ever been in a war. Do you know how scary that? They hadn't ever even been taught how to use a sword, like how to fight. And they're being asked, are you willing to engage? Not just be a decoy, not just run around. Okay, we're good at running. We're no good at fighting. So we can do the running part, but what about the fighting part? And these are ferocious, like they fight like dragons, Lamanites. Okay, they are not nice to anybody. They don't care who's opposing them, right? This is super scary stuff. This is to be faced with dying because of an axe or a scimitar or a sword, and you don't know how to defend yourself. Wow. So are you up against, and have you been up against things that seem bigger than you? Things that seem tough to do? Responsibilities that are on you now or will soon be upon you? And how do you feel about taking those things on? What say ye? Will you go to battle? Will you fight? Will you take it on? Or will you run? Will you avoid? Will you keep running? So, that's really good questions. How many of them were hurt? Let's go to Alma 57:25. Okay, we're going to jump to the end, and then tomorrow we're going to come back and sort of fill in what made these guys this way, that they were willing to fight, and they said, God will deliver us. How did they get to that point? How do you really develop that kind of trust and faith? It's amazing. Alma 57:25. Preston.
And it came to pass that there were 200 out of the 2,060 who had fainted because of the loss of blood. Nevertheless, according to the goodness of God, and to our great astonishment, and also the joy of the whole army, there was not one soul of them who did perish. Yea, and neither was there one soul among them who had not received many wounds.
Okay. How many of them were hurt? Out of 2,060, how many of them had injuries? Every single one of them. So 2,060 had serious injuries. Out of 2,060, how many died of their wounds? 0. This is an amazing story. Why is this in this book? Why is this story in this true book? What is there here for us? We'll cover this more tomorrow. All were hurt. None died. We're all going to get hurt, right? We're all going to get hurt in this battle. We will have spiritual wounds. Each one of us, as we engage in life, we come out with some wounds, with some sins, with having experienced things that are sad and regret, guilt, and we all have experienced these things. These are wounds. We all have them. But will we give up? Are we going to die? Will we receive deliverance? Mm-hmm. Ah.
And so thinking about it now, we are relating to your spiritual weakness. You may not be breaking things, but it can be with the help of God.
Yes, I love that. What a great lesson to draw from that. Fainted from the loss of blood. You almost feel like you may be dead or be dying. You're so far underwater, you don't know if there's a way out. Yeah. So good. So tomorrow, we're going to keep this story. We're going to talk about some of the antecedents that led up to this, what helped them to become the way they are, the qualities of these stripling warriors. They were not warriors. They were farmers, like the stripling farmers who were suddenly fighting. So qualities to be emulated in these guys. How did they get to where they are, and how can we be more like them? I'll leave this with you in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen. Is that you, Brother Clark?